The story opens in the early morning as Miharu, the older brother, is telling a fairy tale to his younger twin siblings. He begins his tale with a little flair, speaking of a white castle nestled deep within the mountains, where a princess who never smiles resides. Miharu says that many have come to visit, hoping to make the princess smile, but no one has succeeded. Before he can continue, Miharu glances over at his siblings and realizes they aren't even paying attention. They're too busy watching TV. He sighs, thinking to himself about how his little brother and sister are making a mess again, and quickly turns off the television. Immediately, Ryo, his younger brother, throws a mini tantrum, shouting that Nai switched off the TV. Ryo continues his protest, saying that he still wants to watch. He still wants to watch it, as he flails his arms like it's the end of the world. Miharu, in his typical older brother voice, reminds him that if they had watched all of them, they'd be late for nursery school. He adds with a mix of frustration and authority that they need to hurry up and get ready. Both Ryo and Riri look at Miharu and pout, clearly unhappy with the abrupt end to their TV time. Their mother suddenly appears, probably sensing the chaos brewing, and hurriedly apologizes to Miharu. She tells him that she needs to go and will leave the two of them in his care. Miharu replies quickly, telling her to have a safe trip. After getting the twins dressed and ready for the day, Miharu announces to them that they need to go too. As they walk to nursery school, Miharu reflects on how his life changed in the spring of his first year of high school. He remembers that since his parents were busy, he began looking after his younger siblings. Although it requires much more effort to look after them alone, there have been some unexpected perks in doing it. When he drops the kids off, they wave goodbye enthusiastically, making him smile at the surprising little rewards that come with taking care of them. The scene shifts to Miharu's high school during lunch break. A classmate approaches Miharu and asks if he is going for today's mixer. Miharu replies that he is not. Not one to give up easily, the friend pleads with Miharu, saying that they are just short one guy. The friend adds that Miharu shouldn't always be taking care of the kids, and suggests that sometimes he needs to take a breather. Miharu looks at him, stays silent for a moment, and then asks if he can bring his siblings. The friend reacts with disbelief, asking if Miharu is kidding. The friend then adds that Miharu shouldn't always be taking care of the kids, and asks if it wouldn't be alright for him to show a little interest in romance in his high school life. Miharu answers, saying that it is an unnecessary burden, and asks if it isn't fine as it is now. His friend stares at him, a bit dumbfounded, before shifting the conversation to another topic and asking who Miharu likes in their class. As if on cue, Miharu's gaze lands on Yuki Mizudori, a fellow student with an aura of mystery. Another student approaches Mizudori and asks if she has some time after school. Mizudori replies that she is sorry, but she has something going on. The rejected student walks away, muttering to himself that it wasn't going to work out with Mizudori anyway. Miharu's friend turns back to him, commenting on how popular Yuki Mizudori is, like some fairy tale character. He goes on to say that with a well-featured face like a princess, a cool expression that never shows a smile, and mysterious life without accepting anyone's invites, it is partly because of that expression that she is called the Ice Princess. Miharu thinks to himself that he hasn't talked to her before, which isn't surprising given how different their lives are. His friend mentions that he has tried inviting her 3 times, but she shot him down each time. The friend shifts back to Miharu's situation and puts a hand on Miharu's shoulder, telling him that he understands how tough it is to take care of his brother and sister, but advises Miharu to make sure he doesn't end his youth with just taking care of kids. Miharu ponders for a moment, admitting inwardly that it's not entirely true he has no interest in romance. He thinks that considering he is also a high school boy, there's no way that's the case. However, there are always other things on his mind. Later, the scene shifts to Miharu at home, once again trying to entertain his younger siblings by telling them the fairy tale he'd started earlier. Miharu continues his story, saying that in a white castle deep in the forest, there lived a princess who never smiles. Although many people have visited every day, Riri interrupts, asking Nai what kind of person the princess is. For some reason, Mizudori pops into Miharu's mind, and he wonders why on earth he's thinking about her at this moment. Before he can sort out his thoughts, Ryo delivers a swift kick to Miharu's leg and declares it a snow kick. Suddenly, a superhero play bursts into action. With Ryo dramatically blocking Miharu's path, Ryo shouts that he won't let Miharu pass. Miharu plays along, accusing the little white braver of being the bad guy. Riri interrupts again, demanding that Miharu continue reading the story. He tries to pick up where he left off, saying that there lives a princess who never, but Rio and Riri aren't satisfied. They shout in unison that if Miharu is beaten, he should fall down. Miharu quickly agrees, but Rio and Riri continue to yell for him to do it properly. Miharu is too exhausted to keep up with their endless energy. He mentally notes that he doesn't really have time for all this theatrics, so he decides to order some food to keep the little troublemakers happy. When the food arrives, Rio and Riri cheer that it's from Humor Eats, their childish take on popular delivery service. After eating, they all take baths, and Naru tucks them into bed. Finally, his mother returns home late, quietly opening the door and whispering that she is back. The next day after school, Miharu is packing his bag when he finds one of Rio's toys in it, a snow-white rod. He holds it up and playfully pretends to transform into a hero, saying, "Shine on the snowfield, Snow White." Just kidding. Then, without warning, Mizudori appears behind him, catching him mid-hero pose. Startled, Naru quickly tries to play it off, thinking to himself that at least the Ice Princess could laugh at him. To his utter surprise, Mizudori reaches out and grabs his hand. Miharu panics inwardly as he realizes how close she is, and even more shockingly, that she knows his name. Mizudori tells him that he is good at it, leaving Miharu a bit flustered. She then asks him if he likes white braver, as if she isn't aware that she's just turned his world upside down with that one question. Miharu, feeling a bit flustered, blurts out that his younger sibling likes it. Mizudori raises an eyebrow and questions if that is so. In an attempt to demonstrate, Miharu strikes a pose from the *White Braver * show. Mizudori follows suit, mimicking his stance and asking if it is like this. As she mirrors the pose, Miharu's mind reels in confusion. He silently wonders what on earth this situation is. Before leaving the school, Mizudori announces that she has something to attend to and politely excuses herself, adding a thank you that leaves Miharu scratching his head, thinking to himself how mysterious she is. The scene shifts, and Miharu is now walking home with Rio and Riri. Riri pipes up, calling her brother Ni, and tells him that Rio is going to visit Reiken's place today. Miharu turns to Rio and asks if Reiken is his friend, and if he has promised him. Rio confirms that he does so yesterday. Miharu grumbles that Rio should have told him. Rio then mentions that Reiken's Oni-chan, or older sister, isn't very good at superhero play, and Miharu, with a hint of pride, replies that it is the same as them, though he is good at it. Riri adds some background information, saying that Reiken's parents aren't around today. His dad has gone to the office for work, and his mom is in the hospital, or at least that is what Reiken has said. Miharu murmurs to himself that it sounds terrible, then thinks about how similar it is to their own situation. Riri optimistically says that Reiken doesn't feel lonely because of his Oni-chan and remarks that it is the same as them. The three of them arrive near Reiken's house, and Rio exclaims that this is the area Reiken has mentioned. Miharu casually asks what Reiken's last name is. Rio answers that it is Mizudori, and as they look around, it becomes clear they are standing right outside Mizudori's house. They see Mizudori holding her little brother, and Miharu's eyebrows chewed up in surprise. The scene shifts again, now showing the kids diving into superhero play. One child enthusiastically declares that they will play as Snow White, while Rio will be Sugar White, and Riri will be Lily White. Miharu, watching them frolic, silently wonders in disbelief what this situation is. Part 2. He glances at Mizudori, his thoughts drifting to how amazing the whole scenario is. Considering the events that lead up to this moment, he can't quite believe he is now inside Mizudori's house. Mizudori turns to Miharu and says that she has seen Ryo-san and Ruri-san at the nursery before, but didn't realize they are his siblings, Oba-kun. Miharu admits that he also doesn't know her brother goes to the same nursery school as them. Mizudori continues, noting that the two are twins, right? Miharu confirms with a yep. She then comments on how adorable they are, which makes Miharu internally panic as he thinks to himself that the princess is melting. Trying to recover, he asks her if she likes kids. Mizudori replies calmly, "Is that so?" Suddenly, Riri rushes over and pleads with her Oni-chan to read her a storybook. Mizudori readily agrees, saying, "Of course." As she begins reading, Rio comes bounding back, yelling a dramatic sugar knee kick, before playfully kicking Mizudori. Miharu quickly shouts in alarm, asking Rio what he is doing. He then notices Mizudori lying on the ground, dramatically declaring that she has been beaten. Reiken, from the sidelines, shouts at his sister to just go away already, and with that, the kids dive back into their superhero play. Miharu, fully embracing the chaos, theatrically declares that White Braver will not get away with this and that he will definitely get his revenge one day. He continues shouting and flailing around, allowing the kids to defeat him in their game. Seeing them have so much fun, Mizudori expresses her amazement, saying it is the first time she has seen her brother enjoy superhero play so much. Miharu catches his breath, relieved, and responds that it is great to hear. The scene shifts to the kitchen, where Mizudori opens up about her struggles. She admits that no matter what she does, she is bad at using intonations and showing expressions. Miharu relates to her, saying he has also struggled to play with Ryo in a way that satisfies him. Trying to encourage her, he adds that she will get there. He used to be ridiculed all the time in the past. Mizudori then wonders aloud if the problem lies with her face, prompting Miharu to look at her in surprise. She continues to explain that she has heard many times before that her expression is never changing, like a doll, and as cold as ice. Miharu, with a reassuring tone, suggests that everyone is probably praising her. Mizudori, however, shifts her gaze to her brother and says softly that it is okay. Even if she isn't able to smile, as long as she can make that child smile, she is satisfied. Miharu watches her quietly, a bit taken aback by the heartfelt moment unfolding before him. The scene shifts to Miharu as he announces that it is time to go home. Mizudori chimes in, noting that it is already time for dinner, right? Ryo, ever the curious one, immediately asks what is for dinner today. Miharu glances at his phone, mulling over the possibilities, and suggests they might just order something. Mizudori then asks what they usually do for meals. With a shrug, Miharu, still browsing through the food delivery app, explains that when their parents aren't around, they mostly rely on deliveries or grab something from the convenience store. Not missing a beat, Mizudori quickly ties her hair up into a ponytail and springs into action, starting to cook dinner herself. She prepares a meal for everyone, leaving them all in awe. Miharu, feeling a bit guilty, apologizes to Mizudori for making her go to the trouble of offering them dinner. Mizudori, in a matter-of-fact tone, says she wouldn't say food from convenience stores and ready-made meals is bad, but the thought of all that salt and oil makes her feel like it is best to avoid them every day. Miharu, taking her point seriously, promises he will be more careful. As he takes a spoonful of rice, he can't help but think to himself that it has been a long time since he has eaten something warm. It feels great in a simple but profound way. As the children eat their rice, Riri ends up with some stuck on her face, prompting Mizudori to gently wipe her face clean with a napkin. Miharu takes this as a teaching moment, reminding Riri to thank her for wiping her face. Without hesitation, Mizudori then turns to Miharu and wipes his face too, adding that he should thank her as well. Miharu, caught off guard, stammers a quick thank you. The scene shifts to the two of them washing dishes, where Mizudori turns to Miharu and apologizes for sounding arrogant earlier when she talked about the meals. Miharu waves it off, telling her it is fine because she is just looking out for him too. Mizudori, with a sigh, confesses that sometimes she feels the need to act like a replacement for her mom, who is hospitalized. She laments that no matter what, she is always just that kid's sister, even though she knows there are some things she can't fully take on. Miharu winces at her words, admitting that she has definitely hit a sore spot. Mizudori quickly apologizes again, but Miharu interrupts, saying that for them, who are still just children, this is probably the best they can do. He adds that because they are closer in age to the kids compared to their parents, they don't just protect them, they also have moments when they can all smile together. Mizudori listens intently, and Miharu suddenly raises his hand and declares, "Transform." He then chuckles, explaining that he means there might be times when she will have to do things even if it feels embarrassing, especially if she is to become a wife someday. Mizudori looks at him, her face showing a mix of concern and uncertainty, as she wonders aloud if she can really do that too. Miharu reassures her, saying that when she is with the kids, her expression softens. He points out that although she might be a little more difficult to read than others, he doesn't think she is incapable of changing. Handing her a plate, Miharu adds that's why she shouldn't say it is fine if she can't smile. He tells her that it would be good if they could both smile together. Mizudori looks into Miharu's eyes, and he quickly grows flustered. Mizudori then quietly says, "Is that so?" Soon, they set some jellies in front of the kids, who immediately become excited, but in mere seconds, chaos erupts as they begin fighting over the melon jelly. Mizudori, with a resigned tone, apologizes for giving them bits and pieces. Miharu, trying to ease the situation, tells her it is fine and then turns to the children, playfully warning that if they keep fighting, he will take all the jellies for himself. Rio shoots back angrily, calling him a jelly thief, to which Miharu retorts, "What did you say?" Rio and Riri then launch themselves at Miharu, who is now playfully wrestling with the two of them. Mizudori and Riken look on in surprise as Mizudori intervenes, reminding the children that only good kids will get dessert. She urges everyone to get along and hands out the dessert one by one, making the kids giddy with excitement. Later, Miharu lies sprawled on the carpet, admitting that as expected, it is tiring dealing with all three of them at once. He wonders aloud if he has managed to do well. Mizudori, standing beside him, echoes his thoughts but then urges him to take a look. The children are clearly happy, their laughter filling the room. Mizudori says she is glad, a rare softness in her voice. Miharu glances at her, noticing that for once, she is smiling. Seeing his sister smile, Riken is shocked and shouts in disbelief, asking what is wrong. Mizudori tries to calm him down, confused herself, and asks what has happened. Riken exclaims that his Winnie-chan has smiled, leaving Mizudori a little taken aback as she asks, "Am I smiling?" As Miharu observes the scene, a story he has once heard comes to mind. There is a princess in a white castle who never smiles, and many people visit the castle to make her smile, including a prince from an unknown country and his small people. Miharu thinks to himself that he is just an attendant of the small people, not a prince by any means. As Miharu and his siblings prepare to leave, he thanks Mizudori, who responds that she should thank him too. Just as they are about to walk out, Mizudori hurries over to Miharu and asks if he will come again. Miharu looks at her, surprised. She explains that if she has smiled today, it is thanks to him. She adds that she wants to smile even more and wants to do so in front of the people important to her. That's why she begins. But Miharu is still processing her words when Riri tugs at him and asks what kind of person the princess is. Mizudori's voice breaks through his thoughts as she repeats, "Would you make me smile?" Miharu silently contemplates, telling himself that he is merely an attendant of the small people and definitely not a prince. Yet if the princess wishes for it, no matter how many times, they'll visit the castle. The next day, Mizudori is approached by a student who nervously hands her a love letter, clearly hoping for something more than just a casual chat. But Mizudori, with her usual calmness, replies that she has something going on after school. The student's hopes deflate instantly, and someone nearby whispers that he was about to confess. Another voice chimes in, saying it was just like the Ice Princess to stay so unfazed. As Mizudori leaves, some other students watch her, sharing comments about how pretty she looks, wondering what she usually does after school. One of them jokes maybe she's going to some fancy ball, she is nicknamed Princess after all. Hearing this, Miharu thinks to himself, yeah, sure, if by ball you mean picking up her little brother from nursery. He can't help but remember visiting her house just the day before, and how she also takes care of her younger sibling, just like him. Later, another student enthusiastically invites Mizudori to eat together, but she excuses herself, claiming she needs to go to the bathroom. As the other student says they'll start eating without her, Miharu's thoughts drift back to the night before when he had asked Mizudori what could make her smile. Her response wasn't about specific things, rather she just asked him to keep playing together with her like they did that day. Then Rio had chimed in, asking if he could come back tomorrow. Miharu had quickly told him not to just ask things like that out of the blue, but Mizudori had said she'd be waiting. Now Miharu wonders what exactly their relationship is. Are they friends, classmates, or something else? While washing his hands at the sink, he mulls over the idea that maybe Mizudori is just doing all this for his younger siblings, but still he feels happy that they now have more places to play. As he returns to class, he sees Mizudori approaching and hears the usual whispers of admiration. Some girls are even jealous of her style, but to Miharu it feels like she belongs in a completely different world at school. As Mizudori gets closer, she suddenly tells him she needs to ask him something. Miharu is a bit flustered, thinking she's standing too close, and he can practically feel the eyes of their classmates burning holes into him. She then asks if he knows what kind of food Rio and Ruri like. Surprised, he responds with a simple answer, curry, which seems to satisfy her as she thanks him and walks away. Miharu watches her go, thinking, yep, it's clear she's only interested in his younger siblings, not him. Overhearing some other students whispering, he catches snippets like, weren't they standing really close? And who is that guy anyway? He can't be her boyfriend, right? Feeling the pressure, Miharu blurts out, I was just saved by Mizudori-san. She told me the teacher was looking for me. the whispers turn into dismissive comments like, "Of course not. They're not a good match as expected." Despite all the doubts, Miharu wonders if it's really okay for him to keep visiting Mizudori's house. Fast forward, and he finds himself at her place once again. Mizudori announces that today they'll be doing whatever Ruri wishes, causing Ruri to burst out in excitement with a loud yay. Mizudori explains that they'll be putting on a play, so everyone should draw lots to decide their roles. As the papers are unfolded, Miharu sees that he and Mizudori are cast as older and younger siblings. This makes him think, so maybe siblings. The group dives into the play, with Riken stepping up as the father, Ryo taking on the role of the dog, Ruri proudly playing the mother, and Miharu assigned the part of the older sibling. Mizudori, in a twist that seems a little out of character given her usual composed self, takes on the role of the younger sibling. Miharu finds himself struck by the oddness of the situation. Wait, Mizudori is playing his little sister now. This is just way too strange. Things get even more bizarre when Mizudori starts addressing him as Babu. Miharu, thoroughly perplexed, thinks to himself that she's pretending to be a baby now. Mizudori explains her reasoning, saying that if she says fewer things, there's less chance for her to mess up. Miharu, trying to be understanding, responds in his thoughts that it makes sense. Just then, Ruri approaches with a water bottle, insisting that Miharu feed some milk to his sister. Miharu tries to argue that this should really be the mother's responsibility, not his. But with Ruri already busy feeding Reikun, he realizes he's not getting out of it and decides to just get the scene over with. Raising his voice, he announces that it's time for her meal. Mizudori, never one to break character, puts her head gently on Miharu's lap and repeats the word Babu softly. Miharu's thoughts start racing as he wonders what on earth she's doing. But then he tries to calm himself, reasoning that she's just playing her role as a baby. As he tries to stay in character, he finds himself distracted by the feeling of her silky hair and the fresh scent of her shampoo. This is too much, he thinks to himself. This whole situation is impossible. After the feeding, Mizudori continues the scene, saying in her baby role, "Thanks for the food, Babu." Then, returning to her usual tone, she adds that normally, a baby would need to burp after a meal to avoid spitting everything up. Miharu acknowledges this, thinking that he's probably heard that somewhere before. Mizudori goes on to demonstrate with her hands how the burping should be done, explaining that if the air taken in with the milk isn't let out, the baby could end up vomiting it all out. Miharu, impressed by her knowledge, admits in his thoughts that she knows quite a bit. Mizudori shares that her experience comes from taking care of Reikun, as it happened to him once. Miharu finds himself a bit stunned at this revelation, realizing that Mizudori has a side to her that isn't just about being the ice princess at school. Mizudori, with a hint of curiosity in her voice, asks if things were different for Ryo and the others. As they continue cooking dinner together, Miharu, while helping out, explains that their mother remarried last year, which is when Ryo and Ruri came into the picture. That's why he doesn't know much about them from when they were babies. Mizudori listens and responds simply, as if putting pieces together. Miharu continues, mentioning that his stepfather is a business partner from his mother's workplace, and since both of them work, there was some talk about getting a babysitter. Mizudori interjects, pointing out that he chose to babysit them himself. Miharu admits that's right, adding that he was raised by a single parent, so he spent a fair share of time alone. Miharu goes on, sharing that he now respects his mother for earning money on her own, although back then, he couldn't help but think there was something wrong with her. That's why for Ryo and Ruri, he wants to make sure they don't feel lonely or like no one's there for them. As he says this, Mizudori's expression shifts to surprise, and Naru quickly apologizes, saying she doesn't need to trouble herself with his personal stories, and maybe he shouldn't have brought it up. But Mizudori disagrees, saying she's glad to know about it, and then, in a thoughtful tone, she adds that the more she learns about him, the more she thinks he's an amazing person. When she sees him with his siblings, it feels like they're a real family, and she tells him he's a good older brother, Oba-kun. Miharu, not wanting to take all the credit, counters by saying that if she's going to put it like that, then Mizudori is a good older sibling too. But Mizudori disagrees, almost reflexively, saying that's not true at all. Miharu insists that it is. They sit down to eat dinner, and after the meal, Miharu thanks her for the food. But then he thinks to himself, hang on, it wasn't even curry, even though she'd asked about it. Still, he's happy because croquettes happen to be his favorite. Later on, as the scene shifts, Miharu hands Mizudori an envelope, telling her it's the food expense for the last 2 days. She shakes her head, saying she can't accept it since he was also helping out with Reikun. Miharu shrugs, saying that goes for him too, but then adds that his parents insisted on doing it properly. He tells her that if she doesn't accept it, it would make it difficult for him to keep coming back. He also points out that even though they're just high school students, he shouldn't make decisions about involving their siblings without being responsible. Then, with a bit of hesitation, he asks again if it's really okay for him to be there, saying that while he's doing it for his siblings, it might not look good if people see a classmate visiting her house so frequently. He worries it could trouble her if they're found out. Mizudori seems puzzled and asks why that would be a problem. In his mind, Naru thinks if rumors start about her being seen with someone who doesn't exactly match her status, it could hurt her reputation. But he can't just tell her that, so instead he says that while she called him amazing earlier, she's actually the amazing one. Mizudori seems a bit lost at that, and admits she doesn't really understand. However, she quickly adds that she doesn't see him as just a normal classmate. Miharu is visibly surprised, and Mizudori continues, saying to her, he's more than that. She then wonders out loud what exactly they are to each other, but adds that at the very least she doesn't make things for people she doesn't care about. Miharu is taken aback by this, and Mizudori follows up with a knowing smile, asking if he likes croquettes. Miharu is startled, exclaiming that he only told her his siblings' favorite foods. Mizudori reveals that she asked Reikun, who had checked with Ryo and Ruri about what Miharu likes. She explains that from now on, she'll keep surprising the people she cares about, then adds with a playful tone that tomorrow's curry is still a secret. Miharu feels a wave of emotions wash over him as he takes a deep breath. This is bad, he thinks. What's with her going out of her way for him like that? It's as if the small worry that was nagging at him has completely vanished, and all that's left is a sense of happiness. Just then, Ruri comes up to Miharu and hands him a piece of paper, saying, Nini, I'll give this to you. Miharu accepts it, thinking, what could this be? Maybe it's something from when they were playing house earlier. He thanks her, and then Reikun gives Mizudori a paper as well. Miharu thinks to himself that despite everything, maybe he and Mizudori aren't close enough to be called friends. They're just classmates and fellow guardians who take care of their siblings. As he opens the paper, it turns out that he and Mizudori have been assigned the roles of mother and father respectively. Ruri chimes in cheerfully, saying it's like they're making food together as if they were newlyweds. Miharu, feeling a little annoyed, snaps back that babies shouldn't be teasing high schoolers. Meanwhile, Mizudori glances over at Miharu and wonders to herself, what exactly is he to me?